My name is Steve Clifford, and this is the second in a two-part series that I'm doing about suppressors on scout rifles. In the first video, I talked about why you would want a suppressor on a scout rifle in the first place, and that really boils down to being a good neighbor and not irritating the people around you, and being able to save your hearing so that when you're hunting, you can actually hear the impact of a bullet on game. Makes a big difference. I also talked about some things that you can do to set up your scout rifle for a suppressor. So if you haven't seen that video, I would recommend going back and checking that out. In this one, I'm going to review two different suppressors that might be appropriate for use on a scout rifle. Let's get right to it. This first suppressor is the Silencerco Harvester. The Harvester is what is referred to as a hunting suppressor. Hunting suppressors tend to be direct thread, which means that they screw directly onto the barrel. You don't have to add a flash hider or anything else that acts as a quick detach. The advantage to that is it's lighter weight, it's simpler, there are fewer points of failure, but it also means that it's not as quick and easy to move from one gun to another. Hunting suppressors also tend to be lightweight, and that's because they are made of aluminum. Aluminum is a fantastic metal for a suppressor, but it's not rated for full auto use. I'm not even sure I'd use this in semi-auto because apparently aluminum does not stand up very well to heat cycles like some other metals do. And if you are really blasting away with it and putting lots and lots of rounds through it, you can end up eroding the baffles and reducing the performance of the suppressor. Well, with a bolt action rifle, you're not going to be using it that hard. Now, this suppressor, I've probably put close to 300 rounds through it already, and some of it in pretty hard use. I've shot a couple of matches with it, tactical matches. That's funny, by the way. I've taken a class with it. I do a lot of training out here on my range, so I do get it heated up pretty good, and I haven't seen any reduction in the level of performance. Performance is really something that shines on this suppressor too. This thing reduces sound to an unbelievable level. A full power 308 rifle through this ends up sounding like a 22, but not even like a 22 semi-auto, maybe a 22 bolt action. If you shoot this thing and you don't wear hearing protection, you're not going to get long-term ringing in your ear. There's not that loud blast or concussion. It's very, very mild. It's so good that some other people who have gone shooting with me, some people who even own suppressors, look at that and say, what is that? They can't believe how good it works. There is a website that I'm sure you've seen, and that is silencershop.com. They do some really neat testing. They have very expensive equipment. They test all of their suppressors the same. And I was not so interested in finding out the actual decibel level because, frankly, I'm not sure I ever buy some of that. The way that they average it doesn't quite work out right anyway. But what I was interested in is the amount of sound reduction. So when they tested this suppressor and showed with a 308 rifle, they were showing that it reduced the sound by an average of 32 decibels. 32 decibels is crazy. I have not found another suppressor tested on that site that reduced the sound by 32 decibels. Most of the better suppressors on the market are between 25 to 29 decibel reduction. So 32 is really accomplishing something. The downside to this suppressor is it's long. I mean, it's really long. That thing is almost 9 inches long. And it really does reduce the compactness and the handiness of the rifle. If my hunting style was to take a four-wheeler out to my tree stand and sit in a tree stand all day long, this would be great. I would be completely satisfied, but that's not how I hunt. I'm impatient, and I tend to move around a lot. I've got a lot of deer that way, but I check field edges, I check pastures, I check little corners of the property where I know that deer hang out, and I'm moving. So if I'm moving with this, and I'm carrying it African carry, that muzzle is getting too close to the ground. If I'm going over rocks or stumps, or through pastures or even going up and down hills, I really do have to watch where that muzzle's going. Moving through woods, again, it can get caught on things. So I really wasn't happy about the length of this suppressor. Sound is great, the weight is great. It weighs right at 12 ounces. If you look at their website, they claim it's 11 ounces, but you have to put a thread insert so it matches your gun. But by the time you do that, it's 12 ounces, but that is still very, very lightweight. It's just too doggone long. So, the next suppressor I have here is a completely different concept in suppressors. This is not a direct thread, this is a quick detach, which means you first add the flash hider to it, and you can get flash hiders on several of your guns. It's very quick and easy to switch it back and forth between hosts. It is rated not only for full auto fire, it's rated for belt fed, which I'm not sure anyone really does that, but so there you go. The internals are made of what they call stellite. I can't tell you what stellite is, but apparently it stands up to unbelievable levels of abuse. This thing has a lifetime warranty on it, and it's very compact. If you notice, this thing right here is only 5 inches long. And at 5 inches long, a half an inch of that is over the barrel threads of the rifle anyway, so you're only adding 4.5 inches overall length. This rifle right here, total length, front to back, is 40 inches. That is barely longer than Jeff Cooper's ideal of 1 meter. So it's very, very handy. It is also what is called modular, meaning there's an 1.5 inch extension that can go on the end, and we'll talk about how that works in a little bit. But in the short configuration, it does weigh a little bit more. The website lists it at 12 ounces, and it is, but then you have to add in for the weight of your flash hider. Brings it up to about 14.5 ounces. The downside to it being this short is it doesn't reduce the sound anywhere close to what that Silencerco does. It's loud. I would say, maybe the equivalent of a .22 Magnum revolver. That's still enough to really accomplish what I want for hunting. It does knock down the blast. It's not going to scare the bejesus out of the neighbors, but you can still hear it pretty good. You should still be able to hear the impact on a deer. So good for hunting configuration. Once you put on the extension, oh, and by the way, Silencershop.com says that this reduces the sound by 17 decibels. 17 decibels doesn't sound great compared to this thing, but if you compare it to other 5-inch long suppressors on the market, it is remarkably good. Every other 5-inch suppressor that I saw on the Silencershop.com website was only reducing the sound by 13 decibels. So Rugged did a good job with that. So the Micro30 is also modular, and once you put that extension on here, brings it out to 6.5 inches. And according to Silencershop.com, that puts it down to 25 decibel reduction. Again, that's not up to the level of the Silencerco, but it's right in line with some of the better suppressors on the market, and in fact, it's better than any other 6.5 inch long suppressor that I found. So Rugged did a really, really good job with the suppressor. It's just a different concept. And by the way, with the long suppressor, with the long configuration, it comes in about 18.5 ounces. All right, so that's some of the pros and cons of both of them. Let's shoot them a little bit and see how we do. If you could pause that for just a second. Okay, so we're ready to go ahead and shoot these. I'm going to start off shooting a couple of rounds without a suppressor on it, and I'm shooting at a steel plate about 90 yards away, so hopefully I hit it, and you can kind of hear what that impact sounds like relative to the blast of the gun. And keeping in mind, of course, I'm not using real sophisticated sound equipment, so you're not really going to get the full impact of how well these work, but I wanted to give you just an idea of it. Let's start out with a couple of rounds without a suppressor. Where's my target? There we go. All right, so we're going to go ahead and attach our short configuration on here. And I love how quick and easy this is to attach. The locking ring on it. All right, short configuration. Missed that one. All right, now to change this over, you use this handy little tool they give you. You pull off the end cap, which if I had more sophisticated recording material, I would just fast forward through all of this, but it really is quick and easy to change configurations here. It's a little bit warm, but you put on the extension. There we go. Get that screwed on. Put your end cap back. And then, oh, I also just realized I forgot to change my scope settings. So the difference in point of impact does change when going from the no suppressor to having the suppressor, and going from the short to the long configuration. So let's see, I need to bring my point of impact up by and strangely enough, and I can't explain why, but it did affect the left to right. So I need to come to the right by 2 MOA. All right, so let's give that a try in the long configuration. All right, so now let's do it with the Silencerco, and hopefully you'll be able to hear the dramatic difference with this. All right, so hopefully that helps you in your decision as to whether or not to get a suppressor, and maybe which suppressor would make the most sense for you. For me, my preference is that rugged Micro30. The Micro30, I'm going to use it in the short configuration for hunting, put it in the long configuration for training and just general purpose shooting. Not getting rid of this. I'm going to leave it on the gun that I tend to shoot a little less often, but it still is a fantastic suppressor. So both good choices, both appropriate for a scout rifle, and I hope this has helped you out. If it has, please feel free to share this on your social media sites, and I would encourage you to go ahead and subscribe and like my video. And I am going to be doing more videos in the near future. I think the next one is probably going to be a review of scout scopes, so you might want to check that out. Thank you for watching.